She was picked to be the future of Disney princesses, the new face of a classic fairy tale. But instead of getting a crown, Rachel Zegler ended up in the middle of one of the biggest crashes in Hollywood's recent history. Snow White didn't just fail at movie theaters, it bombed again on Disney+, disappearing from the charts almost as fast as it showed up. And in the middle of that mess, Rachel broke down in public, said she was falling apart, started therapy, and watched the same industry that once loved her go completely quiet. They told her this was going to make her a star, but what she got was being pushed away. And just when you think this story couldn't get any worse, trust me, it does. Disney wasn't being cheap on this one. They spent a reported $250 million making the movie, plus another huge pile of marketing money. There were TikTok ads, influencer deals, studio placements, everything you could think of.
Whistling into theaters this weekend. It made $3.5 million in previews. Those are the Thursday night showings. It's a fairly promising start for a movie.
But from the start, people inside Disney say the project was a mess. One source called it a slow-motion identity crisis. They kept rewriting the script, test audiences made executives panic, and nobody could agree on what the movie should be. Was it a feminist update, a magical reimagining, a political story? No one could say for sure.
Time-honored fairy tale beloved by millions, which spans generations, borders, and creeds. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turned out just about everything.
They had to reshoot scenes over and over. Scenes were filmed, thrown away, then filmed again. Multiple music composers were brought in to redo the soundtrack. Some versions too edgy, others too boring. Even the famous Poisoned Apple got redesigned 4 different times for toy testing. In short, the movie had no heart. And without that, even Disney magic can't save you. On June 11, 2025, Snow White dropped on Disney Plus with all the power of a royal announcement. It shot up to #1 in several regions. Headlines read, "Streaming hit." But behind those numbers was a different story. Nielsen counted 581 million minutes watched in its first week. Looks impressive on paper, but deeper data showed a scary trend. Most viewers didn't finish it. They quit halfway through. Almost no one watched it again. Very few added it to profiles. Almost no one pinned it to continue watching. By week 2, it disappeared from the top 5. From every corner of the media, the answer was clear. People didn't tune in to enjoy Snow White. They tuned in because they were curious, just to see if the disaster was as bad as everyone said. And it delivered, in the worst way. What happened was a textbook hate watch spike. Curiosity drove the clicks, not love. And once the credits rolled, if viewers even made it that far, everyone was disappointed. Critics tore it apart, calling the film flat, soulless, and like being lectured by a bedtime story. For longtime Disney fans, it wasn't a reimagining, it was a rejection. The warmth, the wonder, the magic, replaced by preaching and awkward speeches.
This has been a colossal mess. Like, I literally found myself feeling bad for them at times. And these are from audiences and critics alike. From top critics, 29%. From all audience members, 19%.
One IMDb reviewer wrote, "It's terrible, honestly. I can't understand how so much money and so much time went into this. The final result is cringeworthy. It's an absolute shocker. I am stumped to find any positives." They ended the review with a brutal line. "Disney, what on earth have you done?" Another viewer simply asked, "Not sure why they even bothered." Even children, Disney's main audience, weren't sold. One parent shared, "Saw this at the cinema with my 6-year-old daughter. She laughed at a few scenes but whispered, 'This is boring,' about 45 minutes in." Unlike Encanto or Frozen, this film had no breakout songs, no memorable side characters, no viral sparkle, just clunky computer graphics, wandering dialogue, and a tone that felt more like homework than magic. It's one thing to bomb in theaters, but when even the streaming crowd, the same people who watch mediocre shows out of habit, tune out, this wasn't just a mistake. It was the kind of fall that makes the whole industry stop calling. Rachel Zegler didn't just play Snow White, she became its public face, and that face was everywhere. Old interviews began going around, one where she dismissed the 1937 classic as weird, another where she said the prince was a stalker. Her tone, full of Gen Z sarcasm, rubbed traditional Disney fans the wrong way.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Instead of sounding empowered, she came off as fighting, and social media attacked. #WokeWhite trended for days. Opinion pieces accused her of burning down nostalgia. And memes, they turned every press interview into a roast session. One viral tweet said, "The new Snow White is the most insufferable woman I've ever seen." Critics said if she had framed it as an evolution of the story, it might have worked. Instead, it sounded like she was ashamed of the original and ashamed of the fans who loved it. And then came the breakdown. Rachel opened up about feeling isolated, lonely in the middle of a media storm. It was raw, honest, vulnerable. The kind of moment that should have drawn sympathy.
It's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that Loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be open.
But the internet, it didn't care. That clip went viral within hours, chopped into reaction content and flooded across TikTok and YouTube. A few voices showed compassion, but the loudest ones laughed. Sympathy got drowned out by sarcasm. As the backlash got worse, Rachel admitted to her fans that she was spiraling mentally.
Probably. I'm gonna be honest, guys, like I'm a very mentally ill piece of human right now.
She started therapy, started taking anxiety medication. And in an interview with People, she said, "I wanted to function in a way that made me feel confident in the way I was moving through the world." But even with that level of honesty, none of it could hide the truth. Snow White had bombed, and the internet wasn't letting her forget it. In the past, when a film failed, Disney would push back with new campaigns, re-edit trailers, hype the soundtrack, do something. But this time, they went dark. No extended ad buys, no new merch runs, no theme park integrations. Target removed the dolls. Walmart quietly buried the posters. Even the Disneyland gift shop pulled her dress from the display. It was like Snow White 2025 never happened. During an earnings call, Bob Iger said, "Our job is to entertain, not to advance any kind of agenda." That was the only official comment on the project. A vague, distant shrug. Not even a proper goodbye. Now, here's where it gets icy. Rachel hasn't been dropped. She hasn't been canceled, but she's paused. There are no confirmed new roles, no publicized auditions, no lead parts announced. Her team is said to be shopping projects, but the offers aren't there. Some insiders say she's on ice. Others say she's in Hollywood jail. That in-between space where studios wait to see if audiences forget the backlash. We've seen this before. Katherine Heigl, Shia LaBeouf, even Gina Carano. Once you're radioactive, nobody wants to be the first to touch you. Snow White was supposed to be a celebration, a comeback for Disney, a coronation for Rachel. Instead, it became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most powerful brands can collapse under the weight of muddled messaging, that audiences might overlook weak computer graphics or flat pacing, but they won't forgive being talked down to. And that while streaming can spin numbers into headlines, it can't disguise the silence that follows when no one's watching anymore. The film didn't just vanish from the trending page, it was quietly buried. And Rachel's public breakdown, it wasn't drama for clicks, it was a real person caught inside a system that builds stars overnight and breaks them just as fast. She gave years to this role, and when it exploded, she was left picking up the pieces alone. Does she get a second chance? A gritty indie comeback? A voice role in a future animated hit? Or does Hollywood let the silence grow louder until the industry forgets she ever wore the crown? Because here's the thing, sometimes all it takes is one moment, one soundbite, one viral clip to define someone's career. You tell us, drop your thoughts below, because that moment didn't just spark a backlash, it set the whole downfall in motion.